The Chinese government was firm in stating that the Taiwan issue is an internal matter and that the United States should not interfere. In an official statement, Beijing reaffirmed that Taiwan is an inalienable part of Chinese territory and that any attempt at external interference will be considered a violation of national sovereignty. This reflects Xi Jinping's hardline stance, aiming to reinforce the narrative that reunification is inevitable and that it is not up to foreign powers to dictate the course of Chinese policy. At the same time, Donald Trump stated that he would be very unhappy if China were to take military action against Taiwan.
Let's talk about tension in Asia. China conducted large-scale military exercises around Taiwan.
The Chinese Army, Navy, and Air Force are taking part in the maneuvers in 5 areas near the island using live ammunition.
Trump pointed out that he didn't see an analogy between Taiwan and Venezuela, since according to him, Maduro represented a direct threat to the interests of the United States. While Taiwan would not have the same strategic importance for China, the world is now on high alert, as Beijing is unlikely to abandon its plans to annex Taiwan. Welcome to life in the barracks.
The first factor that makes Taiwan extremely relevant is because it is an island located in a strategic place. Islands in geopolitics have very relevant roles and positions.
When a superpower decides to act beyond rhetoric and resorts to force, the whole world watches closely. Taiwan, responsible for more than 60% of global advanced semiconductor production, has become the epicenter of a strategic dispute that goes beyond borders. These chips are not just technological components. They power satellites, missiles, military systems, artificial intelligence, vehicles, and practically all modern infrastructure. For China, keeping Taiwan out of its control means living with a permanent vulnerability. For the United States, losing Taiwan would be like giving up technological and strategic leadership in the 21st century. Could the recent United States operation in Venezuela, which resulted in the capture of Maduro, have been interpreted by Beijing as an international sign of permissiveness to act in Taiwan? But it's worth noting that the United States action in Venezuela was a targeted operation and did not constitute a full-scale invasion typical of war. For Taiwan, any Chinese attack would be much larger, risking direct conflict with Western allies and global consequences. This difference in scale and impact makes the situation more delicate, since a military intervention in Taiwan would not just be a regional issue, but an event capable of redefining the global geopolitical balance. The question isn't whether China wants Taiwan, because that's always been clear. The real dilemma is whether the current moment offers an unprecedented window of opportunity. With the United States already involved in multiple tense situations around the world, Europe under pressure from the war in the East, and the Middle East in constant instability, Beijing sees a dispersion of focus that can be exploited. This perception fuels the idea that the global balance is more fragile than ever, creating conditions for bold moves on the geopolitical chessboard. Here, every gesture, statement, and military action carries extra weight. The fragmented world increases the risks of miscalculation, and any misstep can trigger irreversible consequences. Taiwan, therefore, is not just a disputed island. It is the symbol of a greater battle for technological supremacy, and the redefinition of the world order. What's at stake isn't just territory, but the future of 21st century geopolitics. While facing internal challenges such as slower economic growth, a real estate crisis, and demographic pressure, China may seek external victories to reinforce its domestic legitimacy. In this scenario, an offensive against Taiwan would not necessarily begin with immediate landings. Beijing could opt for hybrid strategies such as a naval blockade, cyber attacks, sabotage of undersea cables, and air isolation. This operation would immediately pose a dilemma for the United States. If Washington responded, the conflict would shift from regional to global. Japan would automatically be factored in, since its American bases would be strategic targets for China. Australia, South Korea, and other Indo-Pacific allies would be pressured to choose sides, while NATO, even outside the region, would have to take a political and economic stance. The dispute over Taiwan, therefore, would not just be an Asian issue, but a clash of blocs capable of redefining international alliances and priorities. In the economic field, the effects would be almost immediate. Markets would panic, supply chains would be disrupted, and the prices of technology, energy, and food would skyrocket. Within weeks, billions would feel it in their wallets, as global inflation and recession hit many countries. Brazil, although geographically distant, would not be immune, since it depends on China as its main trading partner. And it would face currency volatility, diplomatic pressure, and a drop in exports, forcing the government to balance strategic neutrality with economic interests. A confrontation in Taiwan, unlike previous conflicts, would not have a clear beginning or end and would drag on in a continuous escalation, difficult to contain. The United States' recent action in Venezuela signaled a dangerous trend: the normalization of direct force between major powers. This alters global risk assessment entirely. Taiwan is currently the most sensitive red line on the planet. If it is crossed, the international system will enter uncharted territory. Taiwan could be the next test, and if that happens, no country will really stay out of this conflict. Leave your analysis in the comments about what could happen in the dispute over Taiwan and whether the United States would really get involved in this confrontation. Here on Life in the Barracks, you stay up to date with everything happening in the military world. Leave your like, subscribe, and watch one of the videos appearing on your screen. Forward soldiers, see you next time.